Aloha and hello out there, everybody. What's going on? This is Miho with the Too Close to Call podcast, joined as always by my co-host Pags, and we are going streaking.
We're going streaking!
Through the quad into the gymnasium.
We should have just named it Bring Your Green Hat.
People know what we're talking about there, but this is our college football preview breakdown edition. We are going through the Power 5 conferences that be. We've already done the Big 12. If you're interested in that one, check the previous episode logs. It'll be there for you guys to check out. Oklahoma, Texas, your top two. Spoiler alert there. And this episode, we will be discussing the Pac-12, the lovely, exciting brand of football that is the Pac-12, Pags.
It's the 10 o'clock games that you are about to go to bed on a Saturday night, and you're like, wait a second, there may be a good game on when you get UCLA, USC, or UCLA, Oregon.
It was always great back in the day when we used to hang out and stay up past midnight. You'd be coming home from the bar at like 1:15 or whatever it was. You throw on ESPN being like, Sports Center. No, wait, we're in the double overtime of Washington State and California. Here we go.
Yeah, man. Those were some good old times. Let's just say that.
Let's say that, dude. But we got some new faces in some new places. We got some key storylines. I always forget that we got two divisions now out here in the Pac-12 with a North and a South. So why don't we start in the North here? I'll go through the list of squads, and you can kind of take me through ultimately what you're seeing there, what some storylines are. We got the Washington Huskies, the Oregon Ducks, Washington State, Stanford, Cal, and Oregon State. So there's some quality names there when it comes to the North Division.
Yeah, I think the front runner is got to be the Huskies. A lot of buzz coming out with this freshman quarterback, QB Eason, who's supposed to be the next guy.
He's the kid from Georgia, isn't he?
Yes. Left Georgia, now is at Washington. So
yeah, because Oregon has who was supposed to be one of the top picks at quarterback. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
How's it Washington when they got Herbert coming back, who was a Heisman candidate?
Apparently, Eason is ready to take this freaking Pac-12 by storm because you know they're not going to play defense out there. And he's a big dude, so 6'6", can throw the ball a mile. You got to think he's going to have some big-time stats put up out in Washington. And Washington's been the team to beat in those divisions the last couple of years. So
apparently that's going to be the showdown, October 19th. And like you mentioned, that game is taking place in Washington with Chris Peterson running the show there. So that may be the game that decides the North Division there in October between Washington and Oregon.
Washington State, they got Mike Leach, so you know they're going to put up points in the Mike Leach offense. Stanford's always Stanford. They're going to upset one of these top teams, and California and Oregon State seem to be having years that you're not going to write home about.
Stanford's going to be a tricky one with the loss of Bryce Love at the running back position. I'm assuming they have somebody filling in because they tend to recruit pretty well for a smart school out there. I don't know how, but they seem to keep getting kids year after year. But with Oregon and Washington being the top two, I mean, that's at least a couple of losses. And Washington State mixed in there as well. You're looking at 3, maybe 4 specifically for them. So could be a little bit of a down year for the Stanford Cardinal on the north side of the division. But again, like we mentioned, Oregon and Washington definitely, based on everything you read, see, and hear, are the two that everybody's predicting are going to be coming out of that squad.
Then we jump down to the South, and a surprise team of last year, Utah, looking to repeat the South Division winners, and they got their Defensive Player of the Year product, Bradley Anae, defensive end, who's going to be causing some trouble in the backfield. So going to be interesting to see because who's their coach? Kyle Whittingham?
Yeah, the coaching in the South Division definitely has a few more storylines than the North, with Chip Kelly at UCLA as well as the gentleman Clay Helton at USC, who is on the hot seat. And that's where they're saying Chip Kelly in year, I believe it's 2 or 3 now, may finally get some of his kids into that offense. And do you ever think he's going to be able to put it together again on the college level? Do you think it was one of those things where it just happened to not work on Sundays but works on Saturdays? Or do you think everybody's figured out those smoke and mirrors that he tends to run at you?
No, I think he's a smart guy. He'll figure it out. It kills me to say that because I can't stand him, but I really think he's going to figure it out. He does need his proper guys to run it in a non-pro offense, so he'll find those guys. He'll find those quick speedsters that can get it up the middle and break it on the outside. So I think maybe not this year, but in maybe a year to come. Speaking of a guy coming from the NFL, Herm Edwards out in Arizona State for his second year as well.
Those Sun Devils, man, let's see. They were about 500 last year. I don't know if he's recruiting as well as they had hoped initially, but obviously a stand-up guy, a good football coach. But the over-under set for them is at 500 again, at 5.5. So 6-6 seems to be the predictions for Herm Edwards' team.
I think this division is going to go chalk. Maybe UCLA will surprise some people, but I think Clay Helton's probably on his way out this year at USC, Arizona, Colorado. Colorado had an okay year last year, but I think they're going to find themselves in the basement again this year. So I think it's going to be Utah, maybe Washington or Oregon Pac-12 championship game, and either Washington or Oregon moving on to potentially play in the college football playoff.
I was going to ask, big picture, looking at this division, obviously we mentioned the Power 5 is what we'll go through, and with only 4 playoff spots, there's always going to be one conference that's left out, or at least one conference that's left out. There's been more in the past, but out of the Washington, Oregon, Utah that you just mentioned, whichever one you see winning, do you see any of them coming out with 0 losses or even 1 loss to put them in the mix there for that 4 or 5 spot as a Pac-12 conference champion?
It all depends on Notre Dame, because Notre Dame in the last 2 years took that spot, and Pac-12 and the Big Ten have seen nobody coming in. I foresee them probably not getting somebody into that. I foresee the Rose Bowl in their future with these teams, so probably not a college football playoff team.
Washington, Oregon playing each other. One of them's going to have a loss. I don't know about their out-of-conference schedule, although isn't Oregon on week 1, college game day with Auburn? Is that who is live? If Oregon dumps that one week 1, we're going to have an answer real quick, but if they go down south and somehow upset Auburn Tigers, they may be putting some people on watch there for the team to beat coming out of the West.
Oregon's going to have probably the best shot at making the playoffs with that Auburn game, because I'm looking right now, and not many teams are playing top opponents, and if you get beat up in the Pac-12 and lose a couple games, you're on the outside looking in right there. So unless one of these teams runs the table, which Washington could, or Oregon loses to Auburn but sweeps the Pac-12, I think that's the only way you see one of these teams getting in to the college football playoff.
Washington knows how to play the game, Pags. What was it, 2 years ago? They were the 4 seed, and they played Rutgers, the School of the Blind, and the School of the Deaf, I think it was. It's just, in this year, it looks like they got Hawaii, Eastern Washington, and BYU. So they know the drill. Just don't lose. It doesn't matter. Like, the only way it benefits you to play one of those games is if you win it, so play one of them at most, and if you don't play any, run the table. Nobody cares who you played because you're undefeated.
Oh, that's a whole nother podcast, my man. We could get into that for days talking about that, especially you as a Michigan guy.
That's right. I'm like, why are we playing all these people? All we do is go 1-1. We lose to somebody every year.
Penn State's figured it out, my man. Washington, those teams, they figured it out.
It's a damn shame, my man. Damn shame. I'll tell you that much. But as we said, Washington, Oregon, UCLA, all these teams, I don't know, dude. I don't think big picture this is really going to be one that changes the landscape of the college football playoff one way or the other based on some of the predictions, but we got to give them their due because the Pac-12 is one of the Power 5.
Yeah, and all you Pac-12 fans out there, get on the hotline. And Kev, hit him with that number.
That's it. Number's 484-238-0735. Hit up the hotline. Let us know how you think everybody's going to finish. Give us your rant on Chip Kelly if you're an Eagles fan out there and don't think he's going to be successful at all. 484-238-0735.
Later, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.